Hi Sam, can you just begin by introducing yourself, who you are, your name and where you're from?
Sure, I'm Sam Moe. I live in Huntsville, Alabama, but I'm from Massachusetts originally.
Excellent. And tell me about what your creative discipline or disciplines are.
I'm a visual artist and a writer, so I illustrate and I paint and I write novels.
Excellent, excellent. Can you tell me a little bit about your creative process?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this over the years. I think I finally come at a method called braiding. I read The Man Who Could Move Clouds by Ingrid Rojas Contreras, and she talks about this indigenous basket weaver, and she's an indigenous Colombian woman, and her memoir is woven together like as if she was weaving a basket. And so you have these like vignettes that alternate every paragraph, and all her stories alternate, but they have a pattern. And I was like, I do that, but I don't know what to call it. But I write braided essays where you take 3 or more stories and then you alternate them like the braids in a hair, like on a person's head. And that sounds trivial, but when I'm painting, I do it in braids. And so the painting way above has like 3 separate columns because it's got 3 stories going on. Mm-hmm. And then when I was painting the one behind me, I was alternating. And so the color scheme, I would make sure I was doing it every other like couple of centimeters. And then when I'm writing, I do the same thing. I draw in a lot of memory and trauma, and then visual imagery, and then research. And that kind of goes into the painting too, because I do gastronomy research. And then I also represent myself with like my hands and my body. But also it's metaphorical, like one part of the painting has my face and there's an animal inside of it. And so there's also like an unreality element. But all of my creative writing has the same elements, fiction, nonfiction, and poetry.
Yeah. Where do you get your creative, or where or who or what inspires you for your creativity, basically?
That's such a good question. I do a lot of self-archival work. I have 91 journals that I've kept since I was 12. I also watch a lot of films about survivors, like a lot. I watch a lot of films about sexual violence and also horror, and then I read contemporary speculative memoir about those experiences. Shea Hui Choa's The Story Game was a huge inspiration. Her memoir that is her interrogating how she got PTSD, but it's experimental, and so it's her playing a game with her sister, and her sister keeps being like, the story you're telling doesn't sound real. What really happened to you? And then she's like, I'm upset, but I don't know why. I'll tell you another version. And then they keep going until you find out like what's at the core of her trauma. And she read every Agatha Christie novel ever to write a memoir that's like a detective story. And so I started getting really into that genre, and the genre is called speculative memoir. And then I learned that there's speculative horror as well, and it's just people telling stories visually or textually about being survivors, but not using precise language. And I was like, oh my God, I can do that too. So that's why all my images have like disembodied hands and mouths and stuff, to sort of mirror that.
Yeah, and you've got something coming out soon?
I have a book coming out allegedly in August, and then I have 3 more in 2026.
Yeah, and will that just be in the US or?
Hopefully it'll be everywhere because all of them use Ingram Spark.
Okay.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
But my one that just came out is from the UK, but you can get that everywhere.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Excellent. We'll put links to that in.
Yeah, that would be so cool. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what your creative routine is.
Sure.
Do you have a routine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I write and I make art every single day. I make less art. The art is more triggering. But I write every day. If I'm at a residency, I usually write if I'm at a quieter residency, like 10,000 words a day. But if I'm at school, I write usually 3 poems or 1 short story or 1 essay all in one go. So 3,000 to 4,000 words, and then I collect and edit those, and then I send them off to lit mags in like bundles, and then they eventually become books. But I usually do it every day, and then on the weekends when I have more time and I'm not at school, I write like 8,000 words. I have to have like a completed piece or I get nervous. So like I have 1 completed essay and then I decide, oh, I'll write another, and they're each 4,000 words. And I write at school and I write at my apartment at a desk, but I always pick up all of my stuff like some kind of weird pack animal, and I have to migrate it to every space, and when I'm done I have to clean it all up so that nobody touches it, which I think has to do with like growing up and not really being able to make art safely. So yeah, and then the next day when I go to a different desk, I just put it all out again. But it's just like me transporting like 30 books all around the apartment and outside, and it's really heavy.
Do you think they also work as touchstones for you when you're getting into your writing?
I do feel that way. I used them when I was doing job interviews. One of my mentors, she was telling me I should have objects around me that call forth like theory, so that when I get asked questions, I can look and be like, oh, I really love this scholar. Let me talk about them. So
I love that. I love that.
it was really, it helped a lot. I got a job, so.
Yeah, because I know a lot of writers do have, and artists do have, touchstones, but to be able to take that into the other kind of life as well. Like
for sure.
Professional life is fantastic. If you were to be having a chat with someone who is just like at the beginning of their creative journey, what piece of wisdom or pieces of wisdom would you want to impart on them?
Oh, I would tell them to do whatever they want. I was so lucky because I was not in a creative writing program at first, and so I was really reckless, and I wrote, I think, 10 novels, and they're all really chaotic and messy, but I didn't have anyone telling me what to do at that time. And then I decided I wanted to be a professional writer. And when I entered into my MFA program, it was really stifling and intense. And then I stopped writing after. And it's taken me like about 10 years to come back to doing what I want. But like a literary agent will tell you the same thing, that you write for yourself and not for the market, and that they don't want you to pick up in the next big trend, especially because it's going to take 2 years after signing with them to get your book on the shelf. And so it's more about, what do you have that's just you, that's different. And that's also what I've noticed the Man Booker Prize especially goes off of, is extreme uniqueness. And so like being yourself is actually like applauded, even though it doesn't feel that way because the literary community is very intense. But I would say don't listen to people. Write for yourself and don't write for your audience until you're about to sign with an agent.
I love that, and I think it's just actually one of the best pieces of advice to give people starting out. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.